when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace, when our heart is in a holy place. When we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace, when our heart is in a holy place. When we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace, when our heart is in a holy place. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe truth is larger than any one book or way. Religion and science go hand in hand. Integrity requires freedom of conscience. Diversity is something to celebrate. In the struggle for justice, we come alive. Our highest aspiration and calling is love. When our heart, the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When the heart is in a holy place, when the heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace, when our heart is in a holy place. Our heart is in a holy place. Whoever you are, whatever path you are on, you are welcome here.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Everybody can be great because anybody can serve." You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. The greatest way to find yourself is to lose yourself in service of others. Today we are honoring members of West Shore's coordinating team, which work with Rev. Makar to ensure that our church programs are vibrant and thriving. Because of this team, individual areas of the church are less likely to get lost in a silo. Because of this team, leaders can help address higher level issues which impact us across the board and require collaboration from all program areas to generate working solutions. Because of this team, we are doing a better job with sharing information, recruiting volunteers, and learning about how things are going. We're grateful for our coordinating team members, and right now I want to call them up to help light our chalice this morning. Come on up when you hear your name. David Blazer and Jerry Davis, representing the Worship, Music, and Arts Council. Matt Bonson and Kathy Strasser, representing the Caring and Community Council. Megan Ross and Karen Kircher, representing the Religious Education and Engagement Council. Suhana Kieras and Vicki Warden, representing the Ways and Means Council. Reverend Anthony and Kathy Little, representing the Justice and Outreach Council. And commissioned lay minister to be Judy Montgomery for the coordinating team at large.
Our coordinating team is so busy, a bunch of them can't be here with us this morning, so there's more to the team.
Let's show our appreciation for this team and the work they do with our applause. Thank you, coordinating team.
Well, folks, welcome. Good morning to West Shore. You see how the coordinating team, we just make things work. Even if everything's not perfect, we make things work. That's what we do. We're glad you're here this morning. It's the best place to be on a Sunday morning here in Cleveland. Probably better than in the Browns Stadium. I'm just saying, I don't know, better to be here. We're glad you're here. Oh my gosh, we got so much going on at West Shore. Please be sure to check out the insert in your order of service, the West Shore Weekly. Just so many opportunities for learning things, connecting with other people, just all sorts of opportunities for service in the larger world. So check that out. Next week is our annual in-gathering service, which marks the beginning of a new program year here at West Shore and the startup of Sunday school classes. This year's theme is, let's see the slide, there we go. It's going to be a lot of fun, folks, next Sunday, but also it's going to be heart-deepening, it's going to be thought-provoking. Finding Nemo, this Disney movie, packs a punch. And if you've not seen it before, I encourage you to see it before next Sunday. It packs a punch. It gives everyone a lot to reflect on. So it's going to be that way with us next Sunday. All ages welcome. This service will include our water communion service. Be sure to bring a little bit of water from your summer adventures to this place, little vial. Stay after the service for our in-gathering lunch, followed by games and activities. For all, a bouncy house. How many of you have never been in a bouncy house? You got to try that out, okay? A bouncy house, a water balloon toss, temporary tattoos. If you wondered about, should I get a tattoo? This is your opportunity. It's temporary. It's temporary. Craft making, the game of cornhole. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Cornhole. And it's... You guys are looking like I'm an alien from Mars. Come on. Isn't that like a thing in the Midwest? Cornhole? We're going to have games of cornhole. There's going to be a photo booth to take pictures and make memories. Volunteers are still needed to help with this, so please stop by the table in the rotunda after the service and sign up to help. Now let me ask, if you don't mind, if you're here for the first or second time, you don't mind letting us know, would you raise a hand? Let us greet you. We're glad you're here. If you didn't raise a hand because perhaps you're an introvert, well, we love you too. Most of us are introverts. We understand that. One of our visitors this morning comes all the way from England. It is her 60th birthday, and she wanted to spend it here with us. And there she is right there. So be sure to say hello to her in particular. So the greeting time is going to end as it normally does with the sounding of the bowl, followed by our important land acknowledgement. So be sure to be listening for the sounding of the bowl. But before we get to that, let's greet each other. Come on, let's do it right now. come to this good morning, remembering the journey of freedom. The land we are on was once another's. We mourn the legacies of oppression. Healing is our way forward. Joy is the birthright of all. All right, we'll have our outreach offering now.
Good morning. I am Linda New. I'm here from the Justice and Outreach Council, and I am here to introduce Mary Huck. Mary Huck is from Save Ohio Parks. Save Ohio Parks is a volunteer-run organization that is working tirelessly to preserve our public lands and our state parks.
Hi, I'm Mary Huck on the steering committee of Save Ohio Parks. We've been in existence for just 2.5 years since Governor Mike DeWine signed House Bill 507 requiring fracking under our public lands. Ohio is the only state we know of that requires fracking under its state parks, in forests, wildlife areas, and even Department of Transportation rights-of-way. We've established a 501c3 education nonprofit and a C4 political arm, and formed a coalition of over 30 environmental organizations calling for Governor DeWine to declare a moratorium on all new bids, nominations, permits, and leases to frack our public lands. We're forming regional groups, have written numerous letters to the editor and op-eds, and have a fracking presentation with trained volunteers, and regularly send calls to action to our mailing list of thousands of people across the state. We tabled at festivals this summer and have attended all meetings of DeWine's Oil and Gas Management Commission in Columbus, and which does not allow the public to speak or ask questions during its meetings, and callously rubber stamps oil and gas drilling nominations. We conferred with legislations who have introduced new bills protecting our public lands, 2 to stop fracking under our state parks and Lake Erie. That's Senate Bill 132 and House Bill 399, and 1 to publicly disclose the toxic chemicals used in fracking, House Bill 71. We've always punched above our weight. Thank you. Yeah, there was just a bill introduced a couple days ago. I don't know the number of it, but Tristan Rader introduced with Sean Brennan to brain fart to yeah yeah. We cannot maintain this level of intense work without money to pay for insurance, brochures, advertising, and hopefully a salary for our first staff member, and that's where you can come in. If climate change keeps you up at night, now is the time to act, and we need volunteers to write emails and call legislators and even write checks. We always welcome people who will show up at a public meeting and hold up a sign too. Each small step you take by doing what you can gets us all closer to building voter awareness and holding politicians accountable to protect our good health, our clean air, our drinking water, biodiversity, and a livable planet for future generations. And I'll be here after the service to answer any questions. And thank you.
The outreach offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Good morning. I grew up in a mixed environment. It was mixed ethnically, racially, financially, and philosophically. I was born, now listen carefully, in Sinacantepec, Mexico. And if you'd like, I can help you pronounce that later. I was born to a brown family with social status and wealth. My indigenous Mexican grandfather, who was a doctor, modeled love, generosity, and humor. At 5 years old, I was transplanted to Detroit, Michigan, into my American father's working-class white family. They modeled racism, constant criticism, and self-serving hypocrisy. The gift I received from that experience was a driving curiosity and a need to reconcile these differences in the people upon whom my life depended as a child. As a teenager, I was left much to my own devices. I was the one with no rules and no curfew. I developed a habit of incessant questioning. I was feeding a deep need to understand how people could be so different and yet be equally important in my life. I became a librarian, one of those people who thrives on searching for answers to totally unexpected questions. As professionals, librarians are taught not to judge the question or the limited scholarship of the questioner, but to amplify their knowledge. And I became a soul searcher, one of those people more comfortable with the mysteries of life than with any creed or doctrine. It was imperative to me to develop my own beliefs that I could trust and commit to with integrity. It's no wonder that at 25 years old I became a Unitarian after a very deliberate year-long search for the right spiritual home for me. And eventually, I found my way to my Buddhist leanings within this very environment. Every seeming contradiction in the Unitarian principles is perfectly comfortable to me. Especially, truth is larger than any one book or way, and integrity requires freedom of conscience. From the Buddhist perspective, I believe nothing is permanent, and that it is fundamental to cherish all life with compassion. So, what does this have to do with braver angels? And I would say, what doesn't it have to do with braver angels? Braver Angels is a national organization with local chapters whose goal is to bridge the political divide. A tough one. It was founded in 2016 after the presidential election and was inspired by Lincoln's pleas for national unity when he was elected. Braver Angels continues to grow in individual membership and by building a network of like-minded groups. The cultural energy that we live with today is tension, fear, and anger, much like the American family culture that I grew up in. Now, as an adult, I choose to acknowledge and learn models to confront those energies in more creative and not destructive ways. Adding fear to fear and anger to anger assumes the duality of either or. It embraces judgment and employs aggression. If we saw firemen using flamethrowers at a fire, we would think they were crazy. But labeling all conservatives as evil, MAGA, avoiding them, that's supposed to change their minds? Or make the culture more gentle? Or value kindness? I don't think so. The conservatives I have met who attend Braver Angels are the Trump voters who want to talk to liberals. Surprise. These are the people from the other side who are open to learning what my beliefs are and who hope to find areas where we can work together. The majority want to understand just as I do and are willing to enter into a covenant to listen to me, not just to try to convince me that I am wrong. These are the conservatives who are willing to say that they voted out of fear for their values and anger at the threat to their way of life. We share those feelings. Recognizing that Maslow's theory of needs for safety, love, esteem, and self-actualization apply to all of us, however differently we may define those things. A few weeks ago, I found myself seated next to a Trump defender at a neighborhood birthday party. And by the way, the birthday girl was 97 years old. I love my neighborhood. In the course of the conversation, my neighbor said she didn't see the point in talking with me because she knew I was a liberal and wouldn't change my mind. So I responded that I just wanted to understand her point of view, not to change her mind or mine, and that I thought we could find common ground. It turns out that many years ago, she was instrumental in creating NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And we found huge common ground in that revelation. We agreed that homelessness is a situation in need of a new solution. She twice asked me during the course of the conversation not to think of her as an evil person just because she thought Trump was addressing some big problems that Democrats did not address. We confirmed our friendship as neighbors, neighbors who can depend on each other. I want to learn the skills that Braver Angels offers, and I welcome the opportunity to practice them in a safe environment. Without the Braver Angels skills, I don't know that I could have had that fruitful conversation with my neighbor, or other conversations that I look forward to. We have some slides. The first one is about what is called the Braver Angels Way. In the Braver Angels Way, we state our views freely and fully without fear. We treat people who disagree with us with honesty, dignity, and respect. We welcome opportunities to engage those with whom we disagree. We believe all of us have blind spots, and none of us are not worth talking to. We seek to disagree accurately, avoiding exaggeration and stereotypes. We look for common ground where it exists, and if possible, we find ways to work together. We believe that in disagreements, both sides share and learn. And in Braver Angels, neither side is teaching the other or giving feedback on how we think or how we say things differently. Braver Angels also has a communications model they call ILAP. I for invite, you invite a conversation. L for listen, you truly listen deeply rather than preparing your rebuttal while the other person is talking. A for acknowledge, you acknowledge by paraphrasing what the other person has said and letting them respond to you and let you know if you're hearing them correctly. And we acknowledge evident emotions. After these steps, you can pivot. You can restate what it is, try to find something you can agree on, but very frankly state, I have a different point of view. Are you open to hearing it? Person may be, they may not be. Many times after following these steps, you will find that they are open to listening. Then you offer your perspective, offer your point of view, and tell it from a personal story if you can. In difficult moments, next slide, please. Stay focused. That can be so much harder than it sounds. Don't take the bait. You can restate your point of view in simple words as honestly and directly as you can. And don't return provocation with provocation. That's the path to an argument. And finally, if it's not working, you can always agree to disagree. There'll be many more opportunities to take this up with the same person or with someone else. Thank you. These Braver Angels guidelines and skills go hand in hand with widely recognized and standardized models, such as Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication model, which is often used in therapy, or the Unitarian Universalist right relations model. UU Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker's guidelines for communities of resistance echoes these same words. And the Buddhist concepts of right intention and right speech. All of these models and many similar others point us in the direction of building genuine relationships, understanding and accepting through good communication in order to support one another and to grow together. Does Braver Angels model always result in avoiding and resolving conflict? No, of course not. There is no magic bullet. And of course there are people who can't or won't control how they express themselves. Braver Angels meetings are open meetings, and the communication skills and personal goals don't always mesh beautifully. It's life. And therein lies the Buddhist challenge to maintain my principles and overcome reactivity. Is Braver Angels the only way I try to make the world a better place? Is it the only way I could offer you or suggest to you? No, of course not. I recognize the privilege that my white appearance has given me, despite my mixed background. And I recognize the responsibility that comes with that. I write to my congressional representatives, and I attend protests. I volunteer and I donate to many social causes. But the practice of reaching out to the other side is spiritual work for me, because it demands that I remain disciplined within my beliefs. Your choices and your actions will reflect your needs and your beliefs.
Joan Clark, thank you, Joan. We are now going to sing together one of the most loved hymns among Unitarian Universalists, certainly in America, Spirit of Life. We will sing it through twice. The first time, it's Spirit of Life, come unto me. And then the second time around, it will be Spirit of Life, come unto us collectively. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come unto us. Sing in our hearts all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in our hands, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold us close, wings set us free. Spirit of life, come to us, come to us. So much gratitude to Joan for joining me in creating today's service and in being one of our Unitarian Universalist champions for liberalism. Liberalism, whether religious or secular, affirms that communities and society as a whole are better off when individuals have wide scope for individual choice and expression. This includes conversations across differences, in which people bring their honest convictions and they are free to agree or disagree in the moment. That freedom feels good, and it opens things up. It opens things up. Seeds of change may very well be planted, which will bloom in their own good time. Among other things, Joan shared some braver angel communication skills that support liberal spaces of freedom, reason, and tolerance. And what I wish to offer here, however, are some thoughts about what might prevent folks from entering into such spaces, what might prevent us from being willing to open up such kinds of conversations. In doing this, I will draw extensively from the experience of Sarah McBride. She is the freshman congresswoman from Delaware who's the first openly trans member of Congress. There she is. I think, she says, that we are in this place where we are in this fierce competition for pain, where the left says to the right, "What do you know about pain, white, straight, cis man? My pain is real as a queer, transgender person." And then the right says to the left, "What do you know about pain, college-educated, cosmopolitan elite? My pain is real in a post-industrial community ravaged by the opioid crisis." We are, Sarah McBride says, in this competition for pain when there is plenty of pain to go around. And every therapist will tell you that the very first step to healing is to have your pain seen and validated. But the pain is not seen and validated. The pain is minimized or discounted, often because the other side is seen as depraved, disgusting, inhuman. Only pain on our side matters. So what replaces conversation between people who truly do have a lot in common, namely vulnerability, fear, and suffering, what replaces that is acrimony and a back and forth cycle of retaliation. Sarah McBride goes on to acknowledge that one may never automatically equate the social and political left with liberalism. They don't always go together. Plenty of people on the left have abandoned liberalism and have gone illiberal and authoritarian. She says that. I quote, "We created this all-on or all-off mentality that you had to be perfect on trans rights across the board, use exactly the right language, and unless you do that, you are a bigot. You are an enemy." She uses the term maximalism to describe this. Only the maximal plan is the acceptable plan. Compromise is despicable. People are expected to instantly obey, and if they don't, they are written off as horrible human beings. That is authoritarianism from the left. So many of the problems that we face, says Sarah McBride, are rooted in the fact that hurt people hurt people. Left-wing maximalism or illiberalism or authoritarianism, which shuts down conversation and seeks to force instant change, can reasonably be seen to come from a place of hurt. It comes from a place of real urgency. Trans people are suffering now. Trans people are dying now. Sarah McBride knows this personally. People, she says, have one life, and it is completely understandable that a person would feel, "I have one life." And when you ask me to wait, you are asking me to watch my one life pass by with all the respect and fairness I deserve. And that is too much to ask of anyone. Yes, can I hear an amen? Yes, yes. And yet, look at what happens when an unready public feels forced to change as directed by leaders who come across all holier than thou. What happens is resentment. What happens is outright rebellion and escalating backlash that is extreme in exactly the opposite direction. Even reasonable people in or near the middle who might otherwise be open to conversation and change, they will dig in their heels. You come across all holier than thou, which is the exact tone of maximalism or illiberalism or authoritarianism, and people will vote against their best interests because you have offended their sense of dignity. The high price of eggs, it doesn't really matter when the far higher price of a diminished sense of self-worth is at stake. Sarah McBride's comments, by the way, they come from a New York Times article from this past June in which writer Ezra Klein is interviewing her about the current state of trans rights. What is that state? By every objective metric, she says, support for trans rights is worse now than it was 6 or 7 years ago. And that's not just isolated to trans issues, she says. I think if you look across issues of gender right now, you have seen a regression. Marriage equality support is actually lower now than it was a couple of years ago in a recent poll. We also see a regression around support for whether women should have the same opportunities as men compared to 5, 10, 15 years ago. Sarah McBride's basic pragmatic argument is that Democratic Party and progressive group illiberalism isn't helping. It is backfiring. It is making things worse, not better. The same thing could be said about current Democratic and progressive diversity initiatives. A couple of weeks ago, I read yet another New York Times article entitled, "Inside the Rise of the Multiracial Right." Now that phrase, the rise of the multiracial right, does that summon your attention too? As it instantly did to me when I saw that. I had to read that article. The article reports the results of a 15-year study by 2 Yale University political scientists, and these results reveal how communities of color are hurting from problems that are not being solved by DEI initiatives. Yet Democrats and progressives are only doubling down on DEI. That is a big part of what's behind the rise of the multiracial right. Listen to one of the folks the Yale University profs interviewed, Orlando Owens, a black pastor and social activist. He speaks of attending a meeting of Democrats, and the message he heard was, we have to help the poor black men and women because the white man is holding them down. What he heard was, and I quote, this white savior complex from white liberals. It was extremely offensive to Pastor Owens. The last thing the black community needs, he believes, is white paternalism. As you may know, the Republican Party in the presidential election of 2024 saw significantly increased support by Hispanic and black voters, especially black men. Asian American voters who cast ballots for Trump were up 30% compared to 2020. These are among the people who are supposed to benefit directly from DEI initiatives, yet they jumped ship. They don't feel truly seen and heard, and the real world desperately needed improvements to communities of color aren't being addressed. They're not happening. And that is precisely the problem with echo chambers. By definition, the things that need to be seen and the voices that need to be heard are off script and decidedly not party approved. People within the party speaking up are branded traitors, not prophets. People outside the party are preemptively branded as untrustworthy and 100% wrong. Illiberalism around trans rights, racial justice, and other challenging social issues is just, in a pragmatic sense, not working. It is just not helping to create successful long-term solutions. It brings to mind something Joan said a moment ago. If we saw firemen using flamethrowers at a fire, we would think they were crazy. But labeling all conservatives as evil MAGA or avoiding them is supposed to change their minds? Seeing this unfold in real time, it is sobering. And may it be a call for people who have adopted illiberal means in pursuit of noble visions to return to the liberal way of freedom, reason, and tolerance. We can improve. Improvement, as Emily Shamley Wright, president of the Institute for Humane Studies, says, is a messy, emergent process in which many winding attempts based on competing notions of the good collide, change course, merge, hit dead ends, and start anew. Along the way, she says, we are going to make mistakes. Heaven may never be brought down to earth. Utopia may never be possible to achieve, but we can improve. Things can get better. Progress is possible. I want to point out two other mistakes that tend to encourage the huge mistake of authoritarianism, whether it's coming from the left or the right. The first of these smaller mistakes stems from our human frailty. It's the tendency to be lenient with oneself or with one's own side while being harshly critical of the other side. Does that ring any bells? This is called holding double standards, or more to the point, hypocrisy. Hypocrisy, hypocrisy. To perceive the other side as hypocritical only strengthens the echo chamber one's own side is in. It only strengthens the echo chamber. For example, my understanding is that 94% of pro-Black Lives Matter demonstrations back in 2020 were peaceful, while 6% involved violence, clashes with police, vandalism, looting, or other destructive activity. The one I personally witnessed here in Cleveland was a part of that 6%, and I will never forget. Will you forget if you saw that? Now, I am aware of some on the left who argue that the 6% that were violent were not really violent, that violence was somehow righteous nonviolence. Yet these are the very same people who will decry the January 6th, 2021 riot at the Capitol as ultraviolence and without any possible righteous justification. So, if you happen to be in a far-right authoritarian echo chamber in which stop the steal makes perfect sense to you because you are a true American patriot, and you hear the special pleading about the 6% of Black Lives Matter demonstrations which were violent but not really, you will only feel further disgust towards the opposition. And you will reach for insulting words like libtards or non-player characters to describe them. For you perceive the double standard from the left. You perceive hypocrisy. Why can't they perceive it? You perceive it. Why can't they own up to it? Own up to the fact that they cast a shadow too. It only breaks down trust even further. On the other hand, if you feel you are in the presence of a straight shooter, someone who is impartial, someone who calls out their side for abuses as readily as they call out the other side's, well, you are more likely to exit your echo chamber and have a real conversation. All I'm trying to do here is be a straight shooter. Yet another smaller mistake I urge us to shine a light on is when people take social media face value. It also helps explain the leap into authoritarian mode, whether from the left or the right, and it's imperious, perfectionistic, all or nothing, hard power style. To take social media face value is to fall under the illusion that the public is generally unreasonable and impervious to persuasion. Sarah McBride speaks to this as well. She says there are two kinds of people on social media. The vast majority, they scroll their social media. Those folks are called doom scrollers. Does that resonate, doom scroll? Okay, the vast majority, 80%, they just are scrollers. That's what they do, they just scroll. 20%, she goes on to say, 20% maybe are the ones creating actual social media content. 10% on the far right, 10% on the far left. The people who are so strident and angry that they are compelled to post, and that content gets elevated. But what has resulted for the 80% who are just scrolling is this false perception of reality. She goes on to say, however, that one of the best things about being an elected official is that I have to break out of the social media echo chamber, that social media extreme world, and interact with everyday people. And yes, there are real disagreements, but 80% of the doom scrollers, or the people who aren't even on social media, are actually in a place where we can have a conversation with them. Here is this place that Sarah McBride is speaking about. Let's see the next slide. It's called the Valley of Open-Mindedness. And note how big this place really is. Our politicians, admittedly, are extremely polarized, but that does not necessarily mean that the voters, you and me, are that polarized. Not at all. People, Sarah McBride says, are hungry for an approach that doesn't treat our fellow citizens as enemies, but rather treats our fellow citizens as neighbors, even if we disagree with them. An approach that is filled with grace. Grace. And when you go out into the real world, Democrats, independents, and Republicans, there is a hunger for some level of grace for us to just not be so angry at one another and miserable. They want to see and know that we actually do have more in common, and therefore it gives you hope that persuasion is not only necessary, but can actually still be effective. Who here longs for a politics of giving grace? Who here wants to see and know that left and right have more in common than it appears? Oh man, listen especially. Thank you. Listen especially to that part about persuasion being necessary, persuasion and the required time it takes, because no one with honest questions and concerns, even if those questions and concerns are ultimately rooted in confusion or ignorance, no one wants to be forced. Again, did you hear that? Ding! That's the Lord saying amen. Again and again, we are speaking of our inherent worth and dignity. And we say that a lot here, but let me tell you, here's how it connects in here. Our inherent worth and dignity is the part of you which will send you into grievance when people disrespect you, when they invalidate you, when they act all holier than thou towards you. Nurtured grievance is the reason why people give their unswerving loyalty to a so-called great leader, and they feel positively empowered through the completeness of their submission to that great leader, and feel so completely satisfied when they see their great leader punishing traitors within the party as well as enemies on the outside. To feel forced offends the libertarian heart of every American. It offends everyone's instinctive sense that they have a right to take the time they need to make sense of things for themselves. Short-term obedience only breeds long-term resentment and the ultimate failure of ideological regimes. ChatGPT did not write that for me. I wrote that. For trans people like Sarah McBride, who are suffering, she says, it is our job to demand now in the face of people who say never. But it is also our job to then not reject the possibility for a better tomorrow through compromise. I truly believe, she goes on, that our ability to have conversations across disagreement must be protected. In a pluralistic, diverse democracy, there will inevitably be people and positions that hurt us, that feel dangerous, that make us feel unsafe. But when you are siloed, or you silo yourself, and when you suppress the opposition, it breeds radicalization. Liberalism is not only the best mechanism to move forward, but it is also the best mechanism to rein in the worst excesses of your opposition. That's Sarah McBride. Sarah McBride. You know, every day seems to bring news of yet another worst excess of the opposition. Can I hear an amen? Amen. Good Lord. Every day. It is a perfect storm of radicalization right now. But it's been years in the making. Let's not fool ourselves. Now more than ever is the time to be braver angels, to rein in the even worse excesses that could come. Liberalism is the promise that we can work together as people with differing backgrounds, values, and aspirations to find common solutions. And even if the way there will not be a straight line, even if the way there involves many winding attempts, course changes, dead ends, and efforts to start over, at least we won't lose our souls. At least we won't forget that, however we disagree, we are all in this thing together. America is like a single house that opposing sides equally love, and they won't let go of it. But with worsening polarization and escalating extremes of retaliation, the beloved house itself takes structural damage. Each side is so caught up in their resentments towards the other. Each side is so all-consumed by their thirst for revenge that the result may be that the only home they know comes crashing down and everybody loses. We must step back from that potential disaster. There is only one house, and we need to learn how to live in that house together. It is time for the braver angels of our natures to come forth. You finish the sermon with your amen. Amen. Thank you. Let's sing our closing hymn. Though I may speak with bravest fire. Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are vain as sounding brass. and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving so my love profess, but not be given by love within, the prophet soon turns strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control. Our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are freed. May we depart this sacred space knowing that blessings shall follow us all the days of our lives if we extend grace and forgiveness to ourselves and others, if we behold mercy as a spiritual superpower, if we emanate the greater love that holds us close. May our lives radiate the blessings that we have been given. May kindness and compassion fall gently from us. May there be peace in this world, and may it begin again with us. Let's say our extinguishing the chalice words together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us until we meet again.